Well, we finally made it to the high-end audio suites at the Venetian Hotel, and I'm standing here with Sandy Gross, legendary speaker designer, engineer, and founder of GoldenEar Technology. And Sandy, you have a way of blowing me away every time I come here. 2 years ago, it was with the Triton 7. Last year, it was with the Triton One, which I raved about earlier this year. Absolutely spectacular speaker. And I kind of wondered what you were going to do for me with the Triton Five. It kind of sits in the middle of the Triton series lineup. And what I just heard blew me away. I mean, people wax philosophically about connecting people emotionally to the music they listen to. And earlier I got like a lump in my throat and I was like, wow, this is just amazing. So how did you do it? What was your goal with the Five? You know, because it kind of sits in the middle, you know, and you've already got such an excellent speaker lineup. What was your goal here, and how'd you get it?
Well, the goal really was a step up from the 7. You know, the 7 is a passive tower. It's the least expensive tower we make. And we wanted something a little larger, a little more dynamic, a little more extended in the bass, and also something that incorporated some of the technology that we developed for the One. So I set my engineers to work, I sketched out the design, and we ended up with what you heard today. You know, the response here has been just phenomenal. People have had basically your response, and the concept of, you know, emotionally connecting you with the music is what it's all about. I mean, that's what I've been trying to do all my career.
Well, I mean, it really works. You talk about, you know, trickling down some of the technology from the Triton One, which is, you know, considerably more expensive, although in the grand scheme of high-end audio, a drop in the bucket compared to speakers that sound that good. I mean, they compare to $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a pair speakers. So what was some of that special technology that you brought down for the Five?
Well, we really learned a lot when we developed the One in terms of cabinet damping, eliminating resonances. So those are not specific things, but just a general, you know, improvement in our abilities in those areas. And then specifically, we developed what we call a balanced crossover for the One that we incorporate into the Five. It's not the same exact crossover, but it utilizes that same technology. And that gives us more clarity and more directness, I guess, of the sound.
I want you to talk for just a minute about I think you call it the high velocity folded ribbon tweeter. Can you tell me a little bit, not too techy, but how that works and what advantage it brings to the sound that you get from the Triton speakers?
No, absolutely. It's really a Heil design. You know, back in the 70s when I started in this business, Dr. Heil developed this concept. They call it an air motion transformer. And it's folded like an accordion. And rather than moving like a piston, as a dome would, or even a normal ribbon, it squeezes the air out between the pleats. And it's a much more efficient way of activating the air, I guess I could say. The technical term is it's got a better impedance matching to the air in the room. And it doesn't have a breakup mode that you get really in all the domes. It just goes out, it's very, very extended, but it's very, very smooth.
Smooth is definitely the right word. I mean, you get all the way up into the very, very top of the range. And what I noticed specifically when we were listening to brass and then later with some cymbals and brushwork on a snare drum, every little tiny detail was there, but it never spit at you or got aggressive. And, you know, is that part of your voicing philosophy as well?
Absolutely. You know, we don't want that, I call it hi-fi zing, that aggressive high end that sometimes gets your attention at first, but it causes a lot of listening fatigue. And this tweeter, I believe it's the next to the best tweeter I've ever heard. The best tweeter I've ever heard is an ionic tweeter. And this is a tweeter that has no moving parts. It ionizes air, and then it moves the air without moving any parts. That's something a little more exotic, and it has some down points. Creates ozone and whatever, but this thing has a sound that's very, very similar to that. And it's extraordinary. And the quality of the tweeter, the quality of the high end is very, very important, not just in the voicing, but the whole character of the speaker. So it makes a huge difference.
Real quickly, let's talk about the rest of the drivers in the system. I know you've got two 6-inch mid-range drivers, sandwiching, yeah.
Mid-range drivers. Yeah, there's two bass mid-range drivers, which are in a Diapolito array around the tweeter, and those are cast basket. Those are really our engineered drivers. We engineer every part of it, even the cone. You know, often, even on very high-end drivers, they're buying cones from certain suppliers, and we designed the curve of the cone, which is very specific, as well as the surrounds. And then we have 4 8-inch passive radiators to really couple the energy inside the cabinet, both to load the drivers to keep them well controlled, as well as to couple their energy to the room.
So this is a sealed speaker then?
It's a sealed speaker with 4 passive radiators.
Right, and so you get 2 on each side of the speaker for a total of 8. And you know, what does that do for the bass energy in the room?
Well, again, it tunes the speaker very much like a transmission line would be tuned. You know, with the passives, it depends how you tune them. You know, you can tune them in many ways, but we tune them in order to extend the low end down below the resonance of the drivers, but also control the drivers very, very much. So it, you know, extends the bass and it gives you a lot of control.
So let's get right down to it. How much? And when can I get them?
Well, the retail is $9.99 each, or $19.98 the pair, and we expect to be shipping in March.
Well, Sandy, thanks for taking some time. I honestly think this is the best speaker I've heard under $2,000, maybe under $5,000. Just a really, really impressive product. I think you knocked it out of the park this time.
I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks a lot.